Can you hear me, Sauji?
Yes.
Yeah, kindly bear with us for 5 minutes. We are live streaming on YouTube.
No problem. Thanks.
You have to go a little backwards because so that you can be focused in the middle. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
That's fine.
Thanks.
ಯಾವಾಗಲೂ ಇನ್ನು ಅದೇ ಇರಬೇಕು ಅಲ್ವಾ? ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಹಾಕಬೇಕೇನೋ
ಸೇವ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಬಿಟ್ಬಿಡ್ಬೋದು ಸರ್.
ಇದಿಲ್ವಾ, ಇದಕ್ಕೆ ಮೌಸ್ ಇಲ್ವಾ? ಹಾಯ್ ಗುರು.
Good morning, sir.
ಗುಡ್ ಮಾರ್ನಿಂಗ್.
Kindly bear with us for 5 minutes.
Yeah, sure, no problem.
ಸರ್ ಮೌಸ್ ಕನೆಕ್ಟ್ ಆಗಿದೆ ಸರ್.
ಯಾವ್ದ್ರ ಮೌಸು?
ಇದರಿಂದ ಬಿಚ್ಚಿರೋದು ಸರ್. ಸರಿ
ಅವರೇ ಮಾತಾಡಿ
Good morning, madam. Can you hear me? Amrutarshini, madam.
I can hear you, sir.
Okay, ma'am. Yes, yes. So you can welcome the panelists. Over to you, Amritoshini madam. Amritoshini madam, can you hear me? But you are not audible. You have to unmute. You are not audible.
Sir, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Kindly welcome. We'll start the proceedings.
Shall I start, sir?
Yeah, sir. Sure.
Namaste and good morning to august panelists, distinguished delegates, and participants who have joined from across the world. It is a glorious moment to extend warm welcome on behalf of PES College of Science, Arts and Commerce, Mandya, and IQAC in association with Karnataka Political Science Association registered Mysuru, India. First and foremost, it gives me immense pleasure and I feel honored to welcome our beloved and honorable President, Mr. K.S. Vijayanand, People's Education Trust registered Mandya. Welcome, sir. I extend my warm welcome to our principal, Dr. J. Mahadeva, PES College of Science, Arts and Commerce, Mandya. Welcome, sir. I take this opportunity to welcome Dr. Ratikanta Sahu, Joint Secretary, United Nations Development Program, United Nations Organization, New York, USA, who is going to deliver keynote address. Hearty welcome, sir. I am pleased to welcome one of the eminent personality and resource person of today's webinar, Professor K.S. Rangappa, CSIR Emeritus Scientist, Member Governing Bodies AIMS, Chief Scientific Advisor, Sinotar Pharmaceutical Company Limited, China, and former Vice Chancellor, University of Mysuru, India. A warm welcome, sir. I also extend my heartfelt welcome to Dr. Guru Basavaraja Swami Pandita, President, Karnataka Political Science Association registered Mysuru, India. Warm welcome, sir. I also welcome Dr. Brinda Balaji, member of Karnataka Political Science Association registered Mysuru, and Madam is Assistant Professor in Ramaya College of Law, Bangalore. Warm welcome, Madam. I take this pride to welcome all the participants for today's one-day international webinar on COVID-19 vaccine internationalism challenges and opportunities. I am sure that each one of us will benefit from today's fruitful and enriching discussions. Dear participants, it is to bring to your kind notice that this Zoom webinar has the limit of 100 participants, and those who are unable to join the Zoom platform can watch the webinar live on YouTube channel and Facebook page of Karnataka Political Science Association. Have a great time ahead. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Dr. Amrita Varshini. Thanks for performing the welcome address. May I now request Mr. K.S. Vijayanand, Honorable President, People Education Trust, Mandya, to inaugurate the proceedings.
See, change after.
Welcome, sir.
Hello,
Welcome, sir. You are audible, sir.
are you hearing me? Guru sir?
Yeah, yes, sir. I can hear you, sir. Can you please inaugurate the webinar, sir? I can hear you, sir. I
Hello.
can hear you, sir. Can you
Yeah.
hear me, sir?
Yeah, I'm able to hear you now.
Okay, sir.
Hi.
Kindly inaugurate the webinar, sir.
Hi everyone, this is Vijayanand, President of PT Trust Mandya. And we are pleased to host this webinar. I would firstly thanks the all speakers regarding COVID-19 vaccine internationalism challenges and opportunity. Firstly, I want to thank Dr. Ratikant Sahu, Joint Secretary UNDP. It's our great pleasure, sir. You're giving a keynote address from New York. I once again thank you for being part of this webinar. And a special thanks to the eminent person, eminent scientist. It's been pleasure. I'm young to you. And this is the first time I'm talking to you. I've not seen you personally. It's my pleasure, especially welcome you on behalf of PET Trust and Degree College, Professor K.S. Rangapaji, Vice Chancellor, Mysore University. I once again thank you from wholeheartedly, sir. And a special thanks to Dr. Guru Bachula Swami Pandit, who is the president for Karnataka Political Science Association, India. Thank you for being a part of PS Degree College, Arts, Science and Commerce. Thanks for being giving a chance for hosting an international webinar. And once again, I thanks the staff of Political Science of our college and principal. And we are facing a tough time. The whole over world is facing a tough time due to COVID-19. Let us fight together to destroy this COVID-19. I will once again thank you all for being part of this webinar, and I welcome all the participants all over the world who are being part of this seminar. Basically, I want to tell two things. In our college, we have 15 departments. We have organized 14 webinars. Out of 14, 2 international webinars, including this. We are feeling proud of hosting webinars, 2 international webinars. We are going in a good online courses. So we're about to start our colleges from November 17th. Once again, thank you all. And it's been great opportunity to talking to Rangapaji and Sahu and Guru Pandit. Let this all webinar be successful for all the participants. And once again, welcome you all and thank you for giving me the opportunity. Thank you.
Thanks, K.S. Vijayanand, the President, Honorable President of People's Education Trust, for declaring this August webinar open. It's my pleasure to welcome all the privilege to welcome the August panelists and all the academicians who have joined from across the world. There is slight change in the schedule. So Ratikant Sahu was supposed to be the first speaker, but because of the re-engagements, Professor K.S. Rangapaji is going to speak first. And I want to, Professor K.S. Rangapaji is a CSIR Emeritus Scientist. He is the member governing bodies of All India Institute of Medical Sciences. He is the Chief Scientific Advisor of Singapore Pharmaceutical Company Limited, Shenzhen, China. He is the former Vice Chancellor of University of Mysore and also Karnataka State Open University. So I want to personally and on behalf of Karnataka Political Science Association, I want to congratulate Professor K.S. Sangappa for being enlisted as the world's top scientist recently by the Stanford University. He's rated 2181 in the world ranking list. It's a great privilege and honor for the people of University of Mysore and also young budding academicians like us, who is mentoring all the enthusiastic academicians. And he has got 11 patents, and he was the visiting professor to Cambridge University in 1985. His research into his main field is in cancer area, and he's got many patents for his inventions. So it's a pleasure to welcome you, sir, have you as a panelist, and over to Professor K.S. Rangappa for presentation of the topic COVID-19 vaccine availability for all over the world. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, Guru. I'm sorry I intervened because after the keynote I was supposed to give the address, but unfortunately 11:30 I have another webinar series of in the Mysore city. I thought let me finish off in the first time itself. Therefore, good morning everyone. I am very happy to be here in front of you to discuss about the most important issue that is threatening the globe from past 1 year and possible remedies for this issue. I'm extremely happy PAS College of Science, Arts and Commerce in association with the Karnataka Political Association has taken up this task, and I must congratulate the organizers. All of us are aware that COVID-19 has created havoc in every part of the world. All the major pharma companies and drug discovery laboratories are in the race of preparing vaccination and therapeutics. I'm of the opinion the organizer of this webinar belongs to political science discipline, and therefore most attendees would be from the related subjects. In order to provide better understanding about the development of vaccine towards COVID-19, I will explain some underlying basic science behind in it. First question is, what are vaccines and how are they made? Vaccine is a substance that is administered to a human body to induce human response. In simple words, coronavirus is treated with some chemicals such as formaldehyde to inactivate it, or it is heated to certain temperature to kill it. The inactivated virus is injected into the healthy human being. The inactivated virus cannot cause COVID-19 disease, but it can trigger our immunity and the person's immune system becomes active against coronavirus. Henceforth, the person becomes immune to coronavirus infection. Edward Jenner is the person who is known as the father of vaccination. He is the first one to make vaccination for smallpox in 1798. In recognition of his contribution, the Edward Jenner Institute for Vaccine Research has been established in East Oxford, England. Hundreds of clinical trials have been taking place throughout the globe for the development of vaccines and drugs. I will brief some of the major attempts in development of vaccines towards COVID-19. Zydus cadila, what he calls ZYCOD, started phase 2 clinical trial for vaccine in August first week. The DNA-based vaccine showed safe and good tolerability in phase 1 clinical trial. Administration of plasmid DNA leads to the formation of viral protein in the host, which results in triggering of host immune response. This will elevate immunity against COVID-19 infections. Importantly, the drugs that are working well in American population may not work among Asians or Europeans. This effect could be due to the difference in ethnicity and genetic makeup among different races. Unfortunately, the death rate is higher in blacks, Asians, and minority ethnic communities called BAME compared to whites. To address this issue, United Kingdom Research and Innovation, what you call UKRI, is attempting to develop a vaccine which can work potently among BAME population. Now, COVID-19 treatment trial has been initiated by UKRI to strengthen Black, Asian, and minority ethnic community participation. The deliverables may be applied in migrant workers and also in their motherland. The trial is also evaluating whether treatment early on in the community can help people aged over 50 recover quickly from COVID-19 illness without the need for hospital admission. The Oxford University in London is also taking a leading role in the invention of vaccine. At the initial attempts, it has recruited 550 people who showed good response to the COVID-19 infections. The vaccine is in phase 3 trials and it is at the step of approval. It showed safety and well tolerability in the normal and as well as the test of subjects. Again, Jenner Institute with Oxford scientists have tested the vaccine in phase 3 including 6,000 people in the group. They are hoping to get the vaccine in next 2 months. They are willing to produce few million doses of their vaccine by end of September. Sinovac Biotech, Beijing, China, a chemically inactivated virus showed no side effects in monkey models. It has showed promising results in phase 1 trials and phase 2 human trials in underway. Now, again, Pfizer in the United States of America and the German pharmaceutical company BioNTech announced human trials of their vaccine. They are injecting a messenger or mRNA that produces protein that is similar to virus. They are preparing for phase 2 trials. Then Covaxin, Indian Council of Medical Research, in association with Bharat Biotech, has started phase 3 clinical trials in India. It is an inactivated virus administered, triggered in immune system. It is hoped to arrive in the market by the end of 2020. Again, the Moderna mRNA 1273, this modern has named its drug candidate as mRNA 1273. The viral capsule proteins are encoded by these mRNAs, which leads to humoral immunity towards coronavirus. Then Innovia, CanSino, AstraZeneca, and several other pharmaceutical companies are trying similar approaches. Thousands of clinical trials are taking throughout the globe. Therefore, we may get anytime soon in this year. On the other hand, pharma industries are also trying to implement new drugs towards COVID-19 through drug repurposing strategies. In this strategy, clinicians are taking already known antiviral or homologous drugs and injecting to the volunteers infected with COVID-19. Fortunately, many repurposed therapeutics are giving good results. Recently, FDA approved remdesivir, a well-known antiviral drug for the treatment of the COVID-19. Certainly, these drugs have life-saving capacity and will abolish coronavirus from the system. Although most companies patent their discovery because of the involvement of lot of economic and intellectual inputs, I'm sure that the drugs are imported or exported from or to any part of the world by paying the royalty and making the treaty between the countries, between countries. After all, medicines belong to mankind and not to particular territory. Probably with these few words, I wish and pray God for the well-being of every creature on the earth. Thank you for giving me an opportunity to share my views on this COVID-19 vaccination and internationalism, challenges and opportunities. Thank you all. Wish you all the best. Thank you once again.
Thank you very much, sir. Dr. K. Rangaprasad has given a detailed somewhat genesis of what the vaccine is and how it works. Thanks for joining us, sir. If time permits, please join for question and answer sessions.
Yeah. Quickly, yes.
Not now, sir. We will take up the questions later.
Okay. I'll join later.
You can join later, sir.
Yeah. Thank you.
Now we have one more August panelist from USA, Dr. Ratikanta Sahu. He is the Joint Secretary of United Nations Development Program, United Nations Organization, New York, USA, who will be delivering the keynote address. Dr. Ratikanta Sahu was my senior in JNU. When I entered my JNU as a master student, I was in MPhil. So it's a great pleasure to reconnect with Dr. Ratikanta Sahu. The brief profile of Dr. Ratikanta Sahu is He has done Master in Political Science from Utkal University, Vani Vihar from 1994 to 1996. MPhil PhD in Center for Political Studies from School of Social Sciences, Jawaharlal Nehru University from 1996 to 2003. His PhD thesis was on human rights and child labor in India. If you look at the professional achievements of Dr. Sahu, professor in the Social Science Department in the University of Guyana, South America, Caribbean countries from 2003 to 2009. During 6 years of teaching experience in Caribbean countries, supervised nearly 26 research students for their doctoral studies and postdoctoral studies. He was assistant professor in Borough of Manhattan Community College, New York, from 2010 to 2015. He is the present associate secretary to United Nations Development Program from 2016 to date. So this is a brief introduction of Dr. Ratikant Sahu. May I now request Dr. Ratikant Sahu to present the keynote address. Welcome, sir.
Good night, good morning to each and everybody. And it is my pleasure to the College of Karnataka and my pleasure to address this international seminar. And I'm honored to President Guru and K.S. Vijayanandaji and Mahadevji and all the college staffs, students, and everybody. It is my honor to give this address as coronavirus is a epidemic all over the world. You can feel fear, but acting on fear is different. Even being governed by the fear is different. I think it is
ಸ್ಟ್ರೀಮಿಂಗ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಸ್ಟಾಪ್ ಆಗಿದೆ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಅವ್ರದ್ದೇನೋ ಪ್ರಾಬ್ಲಮ್ ಆಗಿದೆ.
Sahuji, some technical issues with you. We can't hear you. Hello, Sahuji. Sahuji. Some technical issues with Sahuji. Kindly bear with us. We will be joining again. Kindly bear with us. Some technical internet issues with Sahuji. He will be joining us shortly. Sahuji will be joining shortly. In the meanwhile, I would like to welcome Dr. Nishant Kumar, who has joined from the Helsinki College of Delhi University.
Good morning.
Welcome, Nishant.
Guru. Good morning, Guru. And thanks to all the organizers for providing me this platform to present my views today. I think I'll come in the second session and I'll wait for my opportunity till then. And
Ratikant Sahuji had joined.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ratikant Sahuji was addressing, and because of network issues, it is disconnected.
These are the vagaries of the new tech that we are still getting used to in the changing context. So that's all right. We can understand.
In case if he has difficulty, you can start presenting, Nishant.
Yeah, sure. Not a problem.
ಕ್ಲಿಕ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಬಂದ ತಕ್ಷಣ ಬರುತ್ತೆ. ಬರುತ್ತೆ ಸರ್, ಬಂದ ತಕ್ಷಣ ಬರುತ್ತೆ. ನೀವು ಅದನ್ನ ತೆಗೆರಿ ಬರುತ್ತೆ. ಬಂದಿಲ್ಲ ಬಿಡಿ, ಅಲ್ಲ ಈಗ ತಕ್ಷಣ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಬರುತ್ತೆ. ಸಾಹು ಅಂತ ಟೈಪ್ ಮಾಡಿ, ಸಾಹು ಅಂತ ಇರ್ತಾ ಹೋಗ್ತದೆ.
In the meanwhile, here join. Ratikant Sahuji has joined.
Yeah, Dr. Guru.
Yeah, it's fine now.
Yes,
Kindly
finally.
continue. Yeah,
I'm sorry for inconvenience.
that's okay.
Yeah. So the question are, what do you do with the fear, and would you succumb to it? I would not allow the fear to control me. The fear kept my adrenaline high, and that was a positive. But I would not let the fear be a negative, and I would not spread it. Fear is a virus also. When we gotten to a place where people think talking is enough, talking is not enough, being angry is not enough, being emotional is not enough, how do you transition that to action and change and results? And that is what we are doing here today. When we are talking about a curve, coronavirus curve, I never saw a curve. I saw a mountain. That is what I saw. I saw a mountain that we had to scale, and we did not know where the top was. Life is not about going back. Nobody goes back. We go forward. You want to change society? You want to end the tale of two cities? You want to make it one world? You can do that. Just the way you knocked coronavirus on its fear, and people in United can do anything. Our past actions change the past tragedy. Our present action will determine the future trajectory. You will tell what we do today. I will tell you the number of people sick tomorrow. This is not an act of God that we are looking at. It is an act of what society actually does. The main battle is at the apex. We are still going up the mountain. We will overcome this, and whole universe will be greater for it. And my hope is that New York and all over the world is going to lead the way forward, and together we will. We are responding to science and data. There is no politics here. Coronavirus 2019 is taxing us in so many ways. In some parts of the country, our health system has been pushed to the brink of capacity or beyond. Our economy has been decimated as a result of the widespread closures enacted to decrease the spread of the severe acute respiratory syndrome, coronavirus, and prevent health system collapse. Misinformation about COVID-19 has circulated further and faster than the actual infection, confusing individuals for forcing healthcare practitioners to constantly counter myths mentioned by patients, friends, and family. Finally, the flow of literature about COVID-19 has been unending, tiring those of us who look to it for guidance and improve patient outcomes. We are talking about the coronavirus medicines, and it has started first trial, second trial, third trial. Even if in USA, like Johnson and Johnson, Pitt Pfizer's, and so many pharmaceuticalist industry is trying to produce the medicine. But one thing comes to the mind: we have so many scientists, so many doctors. What is going on? Why we can't get the medicine? It is all about the politics. Today is the important day for the America because today the general elections might be after 1 hour we'll get the new presidents, and that how the superpower determine to get the consequence medicine. Everything is under now the politics. You will believe after 1 month or in the beginning of the 2021 there will be virus definitely, and this is the system how politics makes people blind. As we know, Rousseau once said, everyone born free, but everywhere they're in chains, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. It is a matter of fact, we are trying our best. The CDC, Center for Disease Control, everybody, Dr. Fauci, all are commenting. But the bottom line is the politics behind on it, how we want power and how we have to give the names of the coronavirus medication in our name. That is a stamp. That is the name for it. But if we stay beyond out of politics, and definitely there is medicine already prepared by now. So the world has been witnessing changes due to the COVID-19 that have impacted global politics, economies, world order, and societies at an inconceivable scale. On the other hand, advance in robotics, advance in information technology, and artificial intelligence. On the other hand, many countries have still been struggling with the basic challenges of providing basic facilities and infrastructure to their people. Today, we are living in a world of highly advanced technology where drones can deliver food, robots can serve in a restaurant. In this world of IT-enabled lifestyle, things seem to be perfect until a virus, without an alarming symptoms, enter our society and in our world, where we are jeopardized and the world is suffering in many ways. So in this connection, India's healthcare system ensures one of the best COVID recovery rates in the world, declaring that India has one of the best COVID recovery rates in the world. Prime Minister Narendra Modi credited grassroots healthcare system in fighting the coronavirus crisis, which has far infected over 25,000 in this country. Addressing the United Nations at the high-level segment of the UN Economic and Social Council, Prime Minister said, in the fight against COVID, our grassroots health system is helping India ensure one of the best recovery rates in the world. He also assured India also on track to remove TB by 2025. However, solidarity counts a lot, whether be it earthquake, cyclones, Ebola crisis, or any other natural or man-made crisis, India has responded with speed and challenging way. In our joint fight against COVID, India have extended medical and other assistance to over 150 countries. In this regard, India's helping hand to USA is noteworthy, where Indian government provided hydrochloroquine to tackle temporary COVID crisis in America. Moreover, this was first address to the UN since India was overwhelmingly elected to a non-permanent member of the powerful Security Council last 2 months. The theme of this year's high-level segment is multiculturalism after COVID-19. That what kind of UN do we need at this 75th anniversary? Sure. India firmly believes that the path of achieve sustainable peace and prosperity is through multiculturalism. However, multiculturalism with a reformed United Nations at its center can meet the aspiration of humanity. India's motto of Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas, Sabka Vishwas, meaning together for everyone's growth with everyone's trust. This resonates with the core sustainable development goal principle of leaving no one behind. So in coronavirus medication, we have really going through so much clinical procedure, and hopefully after today, the American election, and we are getting the medication by December or January, and that is sure and that is certain, and we will not suffer that much drama by going back and forward, and definitely we assure there will be medication and we will stay away from the COVID after a long 1 year troublesome days. So in this context, there are plenty countries trying. Even if India, we had so many clinical experiments, and up to now, we did not get through what exactly going on. There's a question comes in mind. Is there a cure for COVID-19? Not at this moment, as I said, but drugs that are known to work against some viruses are being trialed in China, where there are thousands of patients, and few trials are starting in the USA and other countries. Large numbers are needed to find out whether they work in a few people or a lot of people or nobody at all. The most hopeful are medicines like remedies, and which is a combination of two anti-HIV drugs, and remdesivir, which was tried but failed in Ebola patients in West Africa in 2013 and 2016. Some Chinese doctors are also trying chloroquine, an anti-malarial drug which is off-patent, therefore cheap and highly available, and would be very useful in low-income countries. The first results are expected at least help those who are most severely ill. A miracle cure is not expected. When will we get the vaccine? The question is everybody's mind, and that is the basic things a little child can tell you how long we have to be suffer. So efforts to develop an effective vaccine for COVID-19 have been quick compared with the historical epidemics such as Ebola. A number of firms are already testing vaccine candidates in animal and preparing to carry out small trials in people. The US company Moderna Therapeutics is already recruiting and hope to enroll 145 volunteers between 18 and 55 and launch the trial imminently. Phase 1 trial like this look at whether the vaccine triggers an immune response and whether the given dose cause adverse effect and could be completed quite quickly. However, the subsequent phase, which will involve thousands of volunteers and will work more closely at efficiency, will take longer, and obtaining a commercially available vaccine within a year would be extremely quick, but we are hoping next month or the first year of the 2021. The future of health care after COVID-19. What will you expect in future, and what is the impact and printed on us? My hope is that years from now, when we look back on the coronavirus disease 2019 pandemic, it will have severe a few purposes. First and foremost, COVID-19 highlights the unimaginable bravery and heroism of our frontline healthcare workers, for whom we are eternally grateful. Second, it inspires a renewed appreciation and gratitude for infection prevention and control professionals as well as infectious disease clinicians. These specialists are likely to be in high demand as healthcare facilities, ranging from acute care hospitals to long-term care, navigate a few normal and re-evaluate their standards of disinfection, sterile processing, and hand hygiene protocols. Lastly, COVID-19 will have long-lasting and perhaps permanent effects on the healthcare system as a whole. No more crowded physicians' office waiting rooms, an increased emphasis and reliance on telemedicine, and perhaps the change in the way we consume scientific literature, to name a few. When someone is going through a storm, your silence present is more powerful than a million empty words. The meaning of life is to find your gift. The purpose of life is to give it away. Everybody may not be wonderful, but there is something wonderful in every day. Care for one, that is love. Care for hundreds, that is nurturing. Have a heart that never hardens, a temper that never tries, a touch that never hurts. They may forget your name, but they will never forget how you made them feel. Too often, we underestimate the power of a touch, a smile, a kind word, a listening ear, an honest compliment, or the smallest act of caring, all of which have the potential to turn a life around. When I think about all the patients and the peoples in the world and their loved ones, I know most of them don't remember me, nor I them. But I do know that I gave a little piece of myself to each of them and they to me. And those threads make up the tapestry. When patients are in hospital, doctors and nurses are just words to describe persons who are strong enough to tolerate anything and soft enough to understand anyone. Nurses are there when the last breath is taken, and nurses are there when the first breath is taken. Although it is more enjoyable to celebrate the birth, it is just important to comfort in death. Finally, let me reiterate what Martin Luther Jr. said. If you can't fly, then run. If you can't run, then walk. If you can't walk, then crawl. But by all means, keep moving. Despite the chaos that we are facing in today's world, we should not lose hope and we should all keep on moving forward. Stay informed, stay well, and thank you each and everybody for attending today's international conference. God bless you all. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Ratikant Sahu. It's almost midnight in US, maybe
Yes.
1 a.m. So you're taking a lot of pace to
It's my
be
pleasure.
awake. Uh, Kindly be with us for a few more minutes for can take up 1 or 2 questions. So in the
Yes.
meanwhile, my presentation is on vaccine nationalism and internationalism. The reason why we chose this topic is, so when this coronavirus broke out in Wuhan, traveled traveled to Milan and different parts of the world. So in the entire world, what we see the process of globalization. It initiated certain values like opening the boundary, free space, and no frontiers like that. But when the pandemic broke out, the different governments took the measures to lock down their countries. So it was a lockdown of their country physically also, mentally also. So instead of looking at the problems or how to face the problems or how to get the cure for it, most of the nations, or you can say all the countries, they started looking within to find the cure for the disease, and also the knowledge of how it is spreading, the scientific discoveries, these things, they started not, you can say that the exchanging of the informations or knowledge based on that. And also when the invention started to go on, the discovery of the vaccine, trials started, so they started looking within the boundaries. And it is that what the results the politicians said, like Russian President Putin said, when the Sputnik vaccine is trial is underway, they are getting the good results, and when the vaccine is found, first they will inoculate the medicos, paramedicos, and all, and first it will be available for Russia only. So it denotes a kind of a new way of nationalism, which can be called the vaccine nationalism, and it is detrimental to the well-being of the entire world, and also for the international peace and cooperation. So instead of looking within the borders, within the nation, and the raking up the issue of nationalism in the name of vaccine, and the trials which has to go through the due process of medical law, which has a long-awaited process. Though the political establishment pushed for it, the vaccine, the scientific community was pressurized to discover within that time frame. You can't set the time frame or a limit for a discovery of a vaccine. It takes 1 hour, 1 year to 2 years, 3 years. In fact, the trials in the COVID-19 experimentations are going very fast. So you can't, it has to be, the trials has to go on the people. So it is not that we are going to inoculate the robots or machines and we'll get the fixed results. So the different persons and the different actors, they have different effects on it. In fact, even the ethnicity of the discovery of the vaccine, it has also got a certain variations across the world. The vaccine which is discovered, or the vaccine, the trials which are going across the world, for example, in UK vaccine, it may not be applicable for the Africans or Asians. So this is how the focus of vaccine is going on. So what we have to be looking at from the global perspective is we have to go for vaccine internationalism, vaccine which is available, affordable, accessible for all. So whatever the discovery is going on, so discovery invention, it has to reach the common man. So it should not be a privileged one. Only a few can have the access to vaccine. So Professor K.S. Rangappa, who is also connected with the vaccine trials in Oxford, he was in one of his press conference, he was telling that as Dr. Sauji said, so we are going to get the vaccine shortly, maybe 1 or 2 months. That's going to be a fact, but is it affordable for all? And is it accessible for all? And we need to, it should not be patent. Some of the Nobel laureates, like Nobel laureates Muhammad Yunus and they said that it should not be patented. So one great scientist, Edward Jenner, when polio vaccine was discovered, he said, why don't you patent it? When the question was asked, why don't you patent it? He said, can you patent the sun? No, can't patent the sun. So it has to be for all, for the benefit of the humanity all over the world. So, so this is our concern. That, there are a lot of challenges exist because many companies which are into the research of the COVID vaccine, they may try to monopolize it, and there may be marketing considerations when it comes to the discovery. And but there is also other ray of hope, like some other scientists who say that these vaccines should be made easy and available, and it should be sold at a cheaper price. And it is the duty of the governments, world governments, different governments across the world, to give the vaccine to its people, citizens, people. That is, which is cheap and affordable. And there exists a lot of challenges, and there also exist opportunities also. So here, one more issue that brings us all together is the internationalism perspectives. In 1990s, globalization started, but it ended with China and the US standoff, trade war, and also. But this pandemic has shown us that. So, which is the universal peace and cooperation, which is good for the humanity. So it was started. The genesis could be seen from China, but it affected all over the world. So no country is independent from other countries. We are all interdependent countries. We live in the community of nations. So this vaccine internationalism, I suppose, it promotes the international peace and cooperation, and it also calls for a global approach to the issues of pandemic. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to speak on vaccine nationalism and internationalism. It's a pleasure. I would like to thank Professor Shiv Kumar M for giving me this opportunity, and also the President of PS Education Trust Mandya, PS Vijayananda sir, for collaborating with Karnataka Political Science Association to host this international webinar on COVID-19 vaccine, international challenges and opportunities. Thank you. And we'll start the question and answer sessions now. We have a few questions. So one question from Shivani. We, the students of age 19 to 20, what are the measures should be taken to lead safety life? Saudi, can you answer this?
Yes, sure. Can you tell me please the question again, please?
We, the students of age 19, 20 or 19 bar 20, what are the measures should be taken to lead safety life in the corona situation?
Generally, the basic parameters, we have to see the CDC guidelines, the Center for Disease Control. And there are basic things like you have to maintain the social distance 6 feet, and you have to be clean your hand. And basic importance that to when you washing your hands very frequently, that is the better way, because you are traveling in different ways. And once you are a young person, and sometimes you are busy in your life and you don't know what exactly you are doing. In one time you are doing several activities. So never forget to wash your hand. That is the basic information. You see, when here in the USA, the president, we had the elections, the President Trump go to different rally to address the conference, different rally and election propaganda. He never follow this principle, and today is the consequence what the results is coming down, because you have to see the safety of the universal the peoples. So once it will be in the mind of the young people can mold the whole world. So like a women can make the family in the best way, whereas 1,000 man can do, a single woman can do and change the world. The same way, the younger generations are such steps. We depend on them. Do they depend on us? We are also reciprocate. And they are the backbone to our universal world. They can guide, they can break. So it is the responsibility of the younger generation to follow the principle, the guidelines of basic safety. Means the distance maintaining. We know there are a lot of problems going on in this society. We never face this kind of things. We are thinking like that where we are living. Are we are animals? And this kind of like jobs are going away and economic collapse and peoples are not getting jobs and they're like some peoples are getting psychologically depressed. There are a lot of things happening. So my suggestions and my advice to the younger generation, please bear sometimes, please keep control of yourself, please be stronger and you will be the winner and follow the social distancing and one day the time is coming you will be happier. God bless you. Be careful and be conscious, vigilant so that society will develop and everybody depending you, the younger generation, you are the builder of the society and you can do it. Thank you.
We have one more question. Which country is leading discovering medicine to COVID-19 and which stage they have?
Sorry, again please.
Which country is leading discovery medicine to COVID-19 and in which stage it is?
Yeah, this is on the third stage already. And once you know already, the Dr. Fauci, the CDC director, the Center for Disease Control director in USA, it is already in the trial third, that is the final phase of the medical experiment. So what happening? There are different countries, even if India was doing like different experiments, they are on the verge of to give a verdict that India get the medication, but they could not do it because they got failure. Anyway, now USA is the leading country which have the vaccination, and it is there. And as I said in my address, it will be not so late. Might be December or next 2021 January or February, because it is not open to everybody because of the US politics. And today was the general election and tomorrow we are getting the new president. So everything will be come to standard practice. And only one thing I can say, Dr. Guru was addressing and was telling what will be the cost, that is the depends. But otherwise, medicine is already in third phase and it is the leading country in USA and it is already there. Believe me, this is the politics. After tomorrow, you will see new things are there. So we have to be expect and we will getting soon. There's no doubt at all. And USA is the leading country who have the medication already. Thank you.
Okay, Saju, perhaps we can answer one more question. Can
Yes,
pets
sure.
and companion animals be infected with COVID-19?
Sorry.
Can pets and companion animals be infected with COVID-19?
Yeah, that's a good question. We are just trying first of all to solve the problem of what is the human beings going on. And yes, they can, because it depends on, as our first speaker was talking about, the protein synthesis, mRNA and DNA, the consequence and sequence, all things it is will be experimented through lab. So I'm not exactly a medical scientist, so it depends on the medical lab what kind of protein, what kind of disease, what the experiment they are doing, what kind of drugs would be injected, and what is the consequence, all depends. But right now, we are just trying to whole universe to get recover, at least we get the medication. And we can't put our mask all the time. We can't live like a monkey. As we have a story that human beings comes from the monkey, but now we realize as if, is it we are really monkey? So we need medication there. Yes, it can be impact to animals, but I'm not so sure, and I'm not giving my opinion on that. But medical practitioner will be definitely answer you these questions.
Yeah, I myself have one question to Ratikant Sahu.
Yes.
You are working with the United Nations and United Nations Development Program. What is the role of United Nations in making this vaccine available for all? In fact, you can say that vaccine internationalism. And India proposed for vaccine internationalism. It opposed vaccine nationalism. So, what role UN can play in the vaccine accessible to the all?
Yes, UN's intention is no man should stay behind. Everybody should access to equality and opportunity. Everybody should get the basic healthcare facilities. So nobody should not be suffer from this crisis. But as I said, politics play a major role. World Health Center, which is headquartered in Geneva in Switzerland. See how they did. They are not thinking about you and me and any human being. They're thinking about politics. Under the China control, they turn different way, which is not the ideal things. That's why America did not support to World Health Organization, because you can't work with a country because some biased nature or you have some profit making. We are at UN and we have to be equal to everybody. Yes, UN is giving importance to equality to each and everybody, irrespective of caste, color, creed, sex, and religion. But the politics behind those making crisis to UN. So China was the major player to create this problem, and medicine is the only things was supposed to be invented long before. But what happening, this kind of bureaucracy and politics in international affairs, that this country wants to be cooperate with this G7, all kind of fragmentation. That makes downfall in this society.
Thank you. Thank you, Ratikant Sahuji,
Welcome.
for your detailed presentation and answering most of the questions. And we wish and we request that you use your good offices of UN to promote this vaccine internationalism. Thank you, sir.
Definitely, thank you.
May I now request Dr. Brinda Balaji, Assistant Professor of Law from MS Ramaya College, to present the vote of thanks for the inaugural session.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Honorable President, our most valued invited guest, ladies and gentlemen, it is my privilege to have been asked to propose a vote of thanks on this occasion. I, on behalf of Department of Political Science, PES College of Science, Arts and Commerce, Mandya, and Karnataka Political Science Association, Mysuru, extend a very hearty vote of thanks to all speakers for gracing your important work and sharing with us your findings and opinions today. I express my heartfelt thanks to Dr. Ratikanta Sahu for giving a comprehensive coverage about India's efforts to eradicate the COVID-19, how the people's health system is collapsed and economy affected, and the overall effects of COVID-19 on human life. Thank you once again, sir. Further, we are grateful to Professor K.S. Rangappa for demonstrating his views about the development of vaccine and trials conducted at various levels in different countries. Thank you once again, sir. I'm very grateful to Dr. Guru Basavaraja Swami Pandita for his analysis about benefits, cost of the vaccine, and for also moderating this session. I also wish to express my gratitude to Mr. K.S. Vijay Anand, Honorable President, People's Education Trust, Mandya. I may like to express our sincere thanks to Dr. J. Mahadev, Principal, PES College of Science, Arts and Commerce, Mandya. And I also extend my thanks to Dr. G.V. Narasimhan, IQAC Coordinator, and Professor Shivkumar M., the Organizing Secretary, for their enormous cooperation, support, and guidance in the organization of this webinar. Further, I would fail in my duty if I don't thank the very motivated and dedicated team working behind in making this session a grand success. And also, I would like to thank all the participants of this session. Once again, I want to state that we are all most grateful to all the speakers of this session. We thank you for being with us this afternoon. It has been a great pleasure. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Brinda Balaji, for presenting. A lot of thanks for the inaugural session. So we have had a very stimulating inaugural session. And the internationally acclaimed scientist, Dr. K.S. Rangappa, talked about the scientific view of vaccine. And Dr. Ratikant Sahuji touched upon different aspects of COVID-19 vaccine and how the UN is going to handle this pandemic. So it's a pleasure. Please join in for our next session. I would like to thank all the participants who have taken keen interest in the inaugural session. The first session, the inaugural session concludes now. Thank you, one and all. Please tune in for our next concluding session between 12:15 to 1:30 p.m. Thank you. May I now request Dr. J. Mahadeva. Yes, sir. Honorable Principal, PS College of Science, Arts and Commerce, Mandya, to present the welcome address for the concluding session.
Yes,
Over
sir.
to you, sir.
Yes, sir. Good afternoon. I am Dr. J. Mahadeva, Principal of PS College of Science, Arts and Commerce, Mandya. I take this opportunity to welcome you all to the concluding session of one-day international webinar on COVID-19, vaccination, internationalism, challenges and opportunities, organized by Department of Political Science of our college in association with the IQAC and Karnataka Political Science Association. At the outset, I heartily welcome our beloved and honorable President of PS Group of Institutions, Sri K.S. Vijay Anand, to this webinar. I also welcome our beloved Joint Secretary of PS Group of Institutions, Sri K.R. Dayananda, to this webinar. I also extend a warm welcome to Dr. Natalia Pisunova, Associate Professor, International Relations, Moscow State University, Russia, who is delivering a special address on COVID-19 vaccine, internationalism, challenges, and opportunities. On behalf of the organizing committee and our PS College of Science, Arts and Commerce, Mandya, I extend a warm welcome, Madam, to this webinar. Today's source of session, our key speaker, Dr. Nitish Kumar, Assistant Professor, Dayal Singh College, Department of Political Science, University of Delhi, New Delhi, who is delivering on vaccine, nationalism, and the questions of ethics in the time of crisis, reflections from Gandhian perspectives. On behalf of the organizing committee and our PS College of Science, Arts and Commerce, Mandya, I extend my artful welcome, sir, to this webinar. Our beloved participants are real strength of this webinar, who are from the different corners of the globe. We have received a very good response from different states of our country. I welcome you all for the successful participation in this webinar. Finally, I welcome all our organizing committee members and faculty members of our college to this webinar. I heartfelt welcome you all. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Thank you, Dr. J. Mahadeva, for welcoming this concluding session. So we have one change in this concluding session. Dr. Natalia Picuna was supposed to join, but she fell ill yesterday. She sent a message that she could not should not be able to join today. Maybe in the next academic event she'll be joining. So her absence is deeply regretted. I hope she'll join for our next webinar. She's very ill. So may I now request Dr. Nishant Kumar, Assistant Professor, PhD, King's College London, Dial College, Department of Political Science, University of Delhi, New Delhi. He will be speaking on vaccine nationalism and the question of ethics in the time of crisis, reflections from Gandhian perspective. Dr. Nishant Kumar has done his PhD from King's College, India Institute, London. He was a Commonwealth scholar. His title of dissertation is Religious Offence and the Censorship of Publications in India, Law, Legal Process and the Role of Judiciary. He has done his MPhil from Department of Political Science, University of Delhi. He has done his Masters from Jawaharlal Nehru University, Center for Political Studies in 2007. He has done his BA Honours Political Science from Hindu College, University of Delhi, 2005. His specialization is political theory, Indian political thought, intellectual history, constitutional law in South Asia. He has been teaching in Department of Political Science, Dial College, University of Delhi, since 2009. He has completed many research projects. He has also worked on analyzing implementation of Swachh Bharat Abhiyan, a study of West Champaran district of Bihar. So he has cleared UGC Universal Fellowship. He is the member of British Association for South Asian Studies. He is the member of European Association for South Asian Studies. He has published many books, especially on political thought of India. His specialization in political thought, Vivekananda Aurobindo and Gandhi. He has published many articles. He has presented many papers in national and international conferences. He was invited for many lectures. He has presented many lectures also. Attended many course workshops and he has organized workshops also. So it's a pleasure to welcome Dr. Nishant Kumar. Welcome you, sir. Over to you, Nishant Kumar, for his presentation on the topic vaccine nationalism and the question of ethics in the time of crisis, reflections from Gandhian perspective. Over to you, Nishant Kumar.
Thank you, Guru. Am I audible?
Yeah.
Am I audible, Guru?
Yeah, fine. Yeah. Quite fine.
So today I'm going to discuss the ethical question in the practice of vaccine nationalism from the Gandhian perspective. And my concern particularly is that what is the ethical conundrum that is inherent to the practice of vaccine nationalism? And are we really asking the right questions? Now, what is vaccine nationalism? Guru has mentioned a bit in his discussion about vaccine internationalism. Vaccine nationalism is basically the practice of different countries who have pre-ordered. Now, before the vaccine has even been, clearly passed the different trial phases, many countries rich countries have pre-ordered a lot of doses for their own people. And this has been called vaccine nationalism because it is going to surely have a repercussion on the international distribution, etc. In the process. Now, there are different dimensions to this debate about vaccine nationalism. First, if we consider there is the international dimension where there is a fear that if the rich countries are going to, play the politics of vaccine nationalism, then a country like China, which always tries to look for opportunities in crisis, will try to distribute freebies in terms of vaccines and spread its influence around different countries. That is one of the most prominent international concerns emanating from the whole logic of vaccine nationalism. The second dimension is economic, because there are going to be economic ramifications when big countries, big powerful economies are going to pre-book a lot of doses for their own people. What it does is it increases the demand. And there is simple economic philosophy that if demands increase hugely, then the cost of per unit also goes higher because the supply will be limited and therefore it will affect the cost. And that is why the poorer countries will be impacted because they will have to pay higher cost for the vaccines, and it will become more difficult for them to use the vaccine for their own population. So this is the second dimension of the debate. And the third dimension is the legal dimension. That is this legally allowed? And let me start by saying that there's no international law that prevents any country to do this kind of hoarding in the name of vaccination. And we may agree with that or disagree with that, but it's the international reality that till now we don't have any international law that prevents such practices. Now, we should understand that vaccine nationalism is not a new phenomenon. It started more prominently since 2009, when the whole swine flu epidemic took place, and Australia was the first country that came out with a vaccine. And we saw a huge lot of pre-orders from countries like the US. But the debate did not become so prominent at that time. Why? Because there's something that is different with COVID-19. It's a pandemic, and it is a pandemic of unprecedented level. We have never seen such a pandemic in our history, which is still continuing, which we are still not done away with. In fact, if I just quote the number of cases in Delhi, so till last week or week before, we were expecting that the numbers are going down in definite terms. But suddenly there has been a historic rise in the numbers of cases in Delhi itself. So it's coming back. So we are still in the middle of the pandemic. Let us not forget that. Now, what happened was, because this crisis of unprecedented level, many big economies started pre-booking for their own people. To counter this kind of vaccine nationalism, many countries joined hand under WHO, and they brought out this idea, which is called the COVAX facility. COVAX facility is the basic pool of different countries which have come together and decided that we will try to bring together the different vaccines and distribute equally amongst ourselves, and so that the most needy of the society get the first use. The problem with this COVAX facility is that 170 countries have joined them, but the most prominent of countries, US, USSR, China, they have still not joined this facility, and they are, in fact, they are the main players in this vaccine nationalism politics. Now, what has India done? Because my whole understanding comes from India's role and how Gandhi would have thought about this whole phenomenon in his times. Now, India and South Africa, interestingly, they introduced a new proposal at WHO, and they said that vaccines should be made available for everyone equally. Interestingly, this proposal was mooted on 2nd of October this year, which also happens to be the birth anniversary of Mahatma Gandhi. Now, India in that proposal argued that we are not against monopoly rights. So we are not speaking against monopoly rights of companies, but what we want is that these monopoly rights or copyright or the kind of regime that we are having with patents and etc., that should not apply to the situations of human crisis like the COVID-19. This was the argument that India and South Africa made. But many countries, especially the big economies, they rejected this idea. And their counter argument was that you cannot stop nations or states to protect their own people. Rather, it should be left on the voluntary contribution of the companies. So the idea was that let the companies give up their rights to patent and rights to all the commercial use, etc., and for the larger interest of people. Don't pressurize the states, but rather talk to companies and allow them their voluntary powers to submit their rights. That was a kind of shifting the goalpost, saying that don't blame the nations, blame the companies. And in this, what happened was we still are in a situation of paradox, because the companies are not ready to give up their rights. They are investing a lot of money, they are investing a lot into the R&D of the vaccine. So why will they give up the rights? They want to make maximum profits. So what is the ethical conundrum? Now I start with some justifications about why nation states, especially the governments of the modern day economies, they tend to use vaccine as nationalism as a tool. Now the first justification that they give is that there is no international law that prevents them. Even within the UN or the other kind of agreements that you have internationally, there is no legal preventive clause that actually tells them that you cannot practice something like a vaccine nationalism. Now, it's a very new phenomenon. So I think in future, after the COVID pandemic is done, people would press for such a law, but still the time, there's no international law that prevents them. So they are saying that we are legally on a sound track. Secondly, they are saying that, the globalized era, where Guru had mentioned about what are the different aspects of globalization and how we all are interconnected. But remember, in the globalized era, we saw that globalization also created its own opposite in the form of what we call as localism and protectionism. So on the one hand, you are talking about opening up the boundaries. You are talking about opening up of considering the world as one globe and all are world citizens. On the other hand, there is a counter force of localism and radical protectionism that is going around, because you want also to protect your national interests in the game of globalization so that your nation does not suffer a lot. And what the nation states, governments of big nation states, that they try to do, they tend to use their options very calculatively. They tend to shift their goalposts according to national interest. So when their national interest permits, they tend to use the argument of globalization. And when their national interest permits, they tend to use the argument of localism. Now, add to that the modern nature of politics that we are having. And in all the big economies of the day, including India and other countries, you see a mixture of two different trends. I'm a student of political science, so I'll try to analyze it through the lens of politics as well. You see a mixture of two different trends coming together. One is the idea of social welfareism, and another is the idea of populism. And when the idea of welfareism and populism mix together, it becomes a very, a very prominent kind of admixture where the government are not ready to risk any opportunity that they can project themselves as the, beneficiary or the benefactor of the people. And this kind of crisis provides an open platform for government to intervene in a positive way to support and take care of their people. So they are always going to use a situation like COVID to promote something like vaccine nationalism, to show the people that they are really caring about their people. So it's a golden opportunity in their hands. Now, the problems, what is the problem with this kind of practice? And Guru has rightly mentioned, I'll talk about it in two frames. One is that the whole understanding of COVID vaccine nationalism is illogical. It's illogical because, as Guru also mentioned, we are open boundaries. Now, you just think US decides to import all the possible vaccines into their land and, immunize all their people. But they don't allow African Africans to get enough vaccines. Now, in the globalized world, when people are traveling from one place to other, it's just illogical to think that you are taking care of COVID-19 only by immunizing your own people, because there is constant travel around the world. And this COVID-19 also started in that way. It started in Wuhan and then traveled all around. So to think that you can seal your borders, and protect your people, that's not an option. You have to think about what we can say is a kind of vaccine internationalism, where you take care of all the different aspects together simultaneously. You have to think about simultaneous resolution of problems. Secondly, it's not only illogical, it's also unethical. Now, why it is unethical? Because it is definitely going to deprive the poor nations and the vulnerable people, because giving vaccines to needy and vulnerable in all countries is more important than giving vaccines to all in a particular country. And we have already categorized about the class of people who are more vulnerable in terms of getting caught to vaccine 19 and COVID-19, and which category of like the old age people or the people who are already suffering some major disease, they are more prone to this kind of negative impacts of COVID-19. So it is more important to immunize all the people who are in that sector or that section of people than immunizing all people of the same nation. Okay, because and that understanding has to be more based on the ethical understanding about how you have to think about it. Now, can you really blame these big economic, big shots for their act of vaccination? And there I am slightly, in a kind of a fix, because I think every country is taking steps in their own ways, whatever they can do. For example, India and South Africa, they brought out this proposal to WTO saying that there should not be a vaccine nationalism, and we like that the technology and the scientific development of the vaccine should be shared with all equally. But India on the parallel is also signing MOUs with companies like Sputnik in Russia, or companies like Serum India, which is a collaborator in the Oxford project. So we are also looking for alternative ways of how to protect our own people. So every country does that in the modern times. So blaming some nations because they are economically more powerful isn't the right thing to do. Now, if we are actually hitting at the wrong step, then what is the right form of resolution? And there comes the role of the pharmaceutical companies. I'm also bringing the role of pharmaceutical companies to the center, because Gandhi has a lot to say about that. He has a lot to contribute on the discourse about science and what science should be aiming to achieve. And that is why I'm bringing pharmaceutical companies to the fore. Why should not pharmaceutical companies voluntarily give up their rights? The WHO has brought out a new kind of understanding, which we call the CTAP. C, capital C, capital T, capital A, capital P. CTAP is basically COVID-19 Technology Access Pool. The idea is that all the companies that successfully bring out a vaccine can surrender their copyright and patent rights, and it can be so that it can be easily available. The technology can be easily available to all nations, and nations like India, which is the largest producer of generic medicines, can produce then cheaper versions of that medicine at a cheaper rate, which can easily be transferred to different African and other countries. So that is the idea of CTAP. And shockingly, till now, not even one country has, not even one pharmaceutical.
Nishant, sorry to interrupt, Nishant. Your voice is breaking and echoing. Your voice is breaking and echoing. Okay, continue.
Is it fine? Is it
now,
fine
okay.
now?
Yeah, fine.
Is it fine now?
Yeah, now okay.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay, so why? Even after WHO has formed this kind of facility, not even one pharmaceutical company has agreed to give up their rights of patents, etc. So the question is, should we not be asking these pharmaceutical companies about their ethical and moral concerns? Is it right on their part to try and achieve maximum profits and interest by putting the larger world body at stake? And that is where the ethical dilemma is at the core of the crisis. Now, why I'm talking about pharmaceutical industries is because Gandhi would not have been very concerned about the role of state. Because as we know, Gandhi himself called state a soulless machine. He did not have enough faith on the institution of state. Rather, he had much more faith on morality of individuals in creating an ethical society. And what have we done? Let us try to analyze our own response in this time of crisis. And I'll cite just two cases as a case in point to just reflect about how have we reacted to this event. First, there was an explicit case of different hospitals charging large amount of money for COVID treatment. In Delhi itself, even the worst of private hospitals, they had brought out packages worth lakhs of rupees, which was beyond the reach of common masses. So in a way, the profit earning mentality of the private enterprise came into play in a definite and prominent way during the crisis. Secondly, in our everyday lives also, we had signal problems. You see the way daily wage laborers were treated. You see the way the house helpers were treated. They were not paid wages, but some people obviously paid, but most of the people did not pay the house helpers for many months, resulting in mass migration from the urban sectors to the rural background. And why were these people migrating? These people were migrating because they were feeling insecure in the urban atmosphere. It's not that they went back and their life became much better there or they got good opportunities. No. But they preferred dying in their own villages or starving in their own villages rather than staying in an alien place because the society could not make it their home. They were not confident about how others will treat them here. And this is something that Gandhi would have been very disturbed about because it has the COVID-19 response has exposed our selectivity in invoking ethics during crisis. So we are blaming the rich nations, saying that, oh, they are practicing COVID nationalism, which is detrimental to the interests of many. But in our daily life, we have also practiced some similar types of exclusion during the crisis time without thinking about mankind at large. And Gandhi would have been very disturbed with this kind of human suffering. And because Gandhi had a firm belief that it was the morality within human beings that will help in creating an ethical society. And so for Gandhi, the role of pharmaceutical companies would have been more important in this regard. And here, Gandhi's use of science comes under our lens. Now, generally, Gandhi is believed to be anti-science. Many authors have called Gandhi anti-science, projected Gandhi to be anti-science. However, my argument is that Gandhi was not against science. He was against the way science has developed itself devoid of human values. That was his main concern. And he was not anti-science, and I give you 5 brief reasons why I say Gandhi was not anti-science. And you'll agree with me. First, you see, Gandhi used scientific tools in his everyday life. He used to use clock, he used to use spectacles. What are these? These are products of science. He used to take trains, travel by ship. All are these products of science. Secondly, Gandhi completely supported the idea of scientific spirit. And it is explicit in his critique of indigenous knowledge system, particularly the Ayurveda, because he argued that systems like Ayurveda, which are much superior than the Western sciences, they have failed to develop itself through research and scientific know-how. I'll come back to this point later on. Third, Gandhi's symbol of independence or freedom was charkha. And what was charkha? Charkha was the most basic form of machine. Fourth, his views on self-sufficient villages and on education is deeply involving scientific research. In fact, Gandhi talked about khadi, and when he talked about khadi, he formed a khadi development board. And interestingly, the head of this khadi development board that Gandhi nominated was scientist C.V. Raman. Now, if Gandhi was so against science and scientific development, why will he, nominate the great scientist of our country at that time to the prime position of his dream project? And fifth important point is that his relationship with top scientists of that time, like J.C. Bose, C.V. Raman, and P.C. Ray, they were very close to Gandhi, and they used to suggest Gandhi on different, ways of, research and development and how science can develop in India. So Gandhi was not against science per se, but he had some, problems with the way science had developed. And what was this? He said the scientific development has taken place in the absence of human values. The challenge was to introduce human spirit among people who are behind the machines, or the researchers, or the scientists. The scientists actually need to be more humane, and they must think about the larger interests of society when they are doing any research or they are doing any discovery. That was his main concern. And he believed that what we have seen through history is it was not followed. And he criticizes, if you read Gandhi, he has a very scathing critique on the practice of vivisection. If you look into the history of vivisection and surgeries, you see America and England, the main centers of development of surgery system, they used to pick people from the colonies, particularly Africa, and bring them and try their surgeries on those people, which also led to many to die, the slaves of colonial slaves from Africa. He was very much against this idea of using or experimenting with techniques on live people. He would also question the human trials that we are going on in the modern times. But we know there is no alternative to that. So all these things, Gandhi was very disturbed with. He was also disturbed with the negative potential of science. For example, remember, Gandhi is representing a time when you had two great world wars. You had nuclear bombs being exploded and mass destruction because of that. So he was quite, skeptical about the direction scientific growth is taking. And he therefore said that the discovery of all these negative components of science are because the scientists don't realize that science has a positive role to play in society. Rather, they are using science for selfish interest of their own self or in the name of nation. And that was his problem. And he said we should be able, in the case of using human beings as guinea pigs or vivisections, he said we should be able to refuse to live if the price of living be the torture of sentient beings. That is what he said. He also criticized Ayurveda at that same time. He said that Ayurveda is a very good system of medicine. But the problem with Ayurveda is that it does not include a lot of scientific research and development, which has led to status quo nature. It has made Ayurvedic treatments more costly and complicated and unreachable to common masses. He also believed that if you look at the foreign medicine system, which was allopathic at that time, because of constant research and development, they have been able to produce cheap medicines which provide and make it possible for people at large to be benefited by that medicine system. And therefore he said that Ayurveda and other indigenous knowledge system like Siddhi, etc., they need to continuously research and develop their potentialities to serve society. If they don't do, and if they are just going to glorify the past about how great India was, that is not going to help. You have to present solutions to the crisis of humankind as it is in the modern times. He also said that Ayurvedic systems have to learn that you cannot claim that you can do all. No system can claim to do all. Allopathic system also cannot claim that we can cure all kind of diseases. So claim how much you can actually perform and prove yourself. And that is very important. And that is where, Gandhi would have criticized what happened in the Patanjali episode. We all know how Baba Ramdev came and announced that he had found a cure to COVID-19. And later on, he backtracked and said, okay, we were just claiming to have a medicine that could improve immunity. Gandhi would have said, if you can produce medicine to improve immunity, please say that we are producing medicine to improve immunity. Don't make exaggerated claims, because what happens is that people will start having a negative understanding about Ayurveda at large. People will start doubting the credibility of the system, knowledge system. And if we really want to understand Gandhi's philosophy of science, there are two important lectures that he delivered. And interestingly, both of these lectures were delivered at two great sites of scientific development in modern India. The first one was at IIC Bangalore in 1927. And second one was at Trivandrum in 1925. And I'll just quote Gandhi's, in a long lecture, I'll just quote a few lines, and you'll get an understanding about what Gandhi thought science should be doing. And then I'll come and connect it with the role of pharmaceutical industries in the modern times and how it impacts the whole debate about vaccine nationalism. In IIC Bangalore in 1927, Gandhi gives a cry for science for society. He gives a motto, science for society. And he says, and I put just a small sentence from his lecture, unless all the discoveries you make have the welfare of the people as the end in view, all your workshops will be really no better than Satan's workshop. So he's saying the telos, the end, that all your scientific discoveries have to aim at is to serve the society, serve the most needy in the society. If your scientific discoveries are not able to do that, if it is not able to serve the needy in the society, all scientific discoveries are a waste. In fact, they are of negative. Therefore, he's calling Satan's workshop, because you are then engaging in producing things that are actually destroying society. Things like atom bombs. Secondly, his lecture in Trivandrum in 1925, he says, and this is again a very good way of relating science with philosophy. He says external research has to be linked with internal research, where you connect your heart with all. It's a very simple statement, but think about the connotations of this statement. He says external research, whatever research you are doing, has to be linked with internal research, where you connect your heart with all. Now, this is emanating from Advaita Vedanta. Advaita Vedanta says that there is a oneness of all human souls. You have to realize the oneness of all human souls, because the Brahman is present in all Atmans in the same way. The Brahman, or the Almighty, manifests himself in all Atman in the same way. So we are essentially spiritually one and equal. So we all human beings, all creatures are essentially one. And there is a portion of Brahman. So the idea of Aham Brahmasmi, so the God is within me, that aspect is presented here. So Gandhi was a firm believer in the philosophy of Advaita Vedanta, and he picks it from there. And then he says that your external research, your scientific research has to flow from your belief in oneness with all. That means any research that you do or any scientific discovery that you do has to serve the interests of all. And in modern times, therefore, Gandhi would be against all these patent regimes and all these copyright things, because he would believe that all the technology and scientific developments have to be readily made available for the whole humanity. And that is where the role of pharmaceutical companies would come under test. Because when you are claiming huge profits in the name of patents, when you are not ready to give up your rights of patents for making vaccines available to the larger world, and rather, even before the vaccine is actually ready, you are actually destroying that ethical fervor that Gandhi was talking about. You are disconnecting your external research with the internal research. That would have been a problem for Gandhi. That would have been a problem for Gandhi. Vaccine nationalism in itself would have been a problem for Gandhi, because for Gandhi, any idea of nationalism per se cannot be exclusionary in nature. It has to consider world as a society. And that is why Gandhi is often considered to be a cosmopolitan thinker. Because though he was fighting for India's independence as a nationalist, his philosophy was talking about the crisis of human years to solve the problems of humankind. If you look into his ideas of Swaraj, if you look into his idea of Sarvodaya, his critique of modern civilization, all of these are not ideas that were restricted to the boundaries of our own country, rather talking about fundamental issues being faced by citizens across the world at large. And therefore, from the Gandhian perspective, vaccine nationalism is a threat, it's a challenge. And all countries must come together to question this model of vaccine nationalism, and rather think about the ways in which the most needy in society all over the world can be provided vaccine at the earliest. No one should be excluded from the process. No one should be discriminated in the process. And discrimination and exclusion is not only therefore unethical, it's also illogical, as I mentioned, because if you exclude some sections, it is going to boomerang. Because in the new globalized world, everything is interconnected. You cannot close your borders for long. And therefore, in the Gandhian perspective, therefore, vaccine nationalism is an ethical problem. And we need to deal with that problem, not only by focusing on nation states as sites of who engage in vaccine nationalism, but also questioning the ethical and the moral philosophy of the pharmaceutical companies that are in a rat race to produce this vaccine. There's no doubt we should be thankful to the scientists that they are spending so much of time and energy in this research and development. But that does not remove the ethical and moral burden from them. Because the question is not when the vaccine will be produced, but the question is how the vaccine will reach to the most needy of the society. And that is where I think Gandhi would see and suggest us for a better future. That if you really want to fight a crisis like Covid-19, you will have to stand together and think about everyone and not just about the self-interest or the national interest in a restricted way. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Nishant Kumar, for giving a Gandhian perspective of science, vaccine nationalism, question of ethics in times of crisis, reflections from Gandhian perspective. It is very true that any scientific discovery has to be driven by morals and ethical values. So, at one point of time, Albert Einstein stated that if we had known that his knowledge or his formulae was used for discovering nuclear bombs, for killing so many millions, so he would not have invented the theory E is equal to mc square. So, in fact, Albert Einstein was a Gandhian by nature. So, in the fag end of his life, he was worried that science was not going in the right direction. So, he was more of a Gandhian. So, he stated that people in the future, they will hardly believe that man with flesh and blood walked on this earth. So this rat race for discovery of vaccine, the rat race of market competitiveness, we are not sure where it is going to end up. If you look at the vaccine trial across the world, the companies are also pick on draw for the discovery of the vaccine, the invention of the vaccine. Professor Natalia Pikunova was supposed to speak on Sputnik vaccine, Russia. She was about to share the screen because of her. She's not well, so she's could not get the Russian perspective on vaccine nationalism. So, in fact, the Russian president proudly stated that his daughter has gone the trial of second stage trial of a vaccine, and she's doing well. So, this is in a way to state that the politics is associated with the scientific invention discoveries, and through that Sputnik vaccine, they are bringing the nationalistic jingo for the invention of the vaccine. So Sputnik, we know that it was a satellite, I suppose, for in astronomy. Now they are making it a vaccine. So this kind of nomenclature of vaccine, perhaps it has you can say that a connotation of non-availability or something exclusivity associated with it. So I want to repeat again. One great scientist said, "Can you patent the sun?" So we can't patent the sun. And these discoveries are for the sake of the humanity, for all the humanity as one, humanity as one. So it's good that you brought in this Gandhian perspective, our native perspective for this webinar. Gandhi stated, "Truth and non-violence are as old as the hills. I have got nothing to state. They are the same old thing." So what we are forgetting in this global world order is that the scientific discovery or invention should be a concerted effort, and it should be rightly directed. So we don't know the origin of COVID-19. So COVID-19, some say it is of animal origin, some say it is an artificial, but we are sure that it broke out in the Wuhan lab. And some Americans criticized it as Chinese virus. He brought that his trade war attached to with that virus, Wuhan market. So whatever it is, what we have to understand is any scientific discovery or invention, when it takes place, it has to be a controlled experimentation. So just one virus breaks out from the lab or some market, and it was not contained, and we see the result. The entire world came to a standstill, and we faced the problem of it. And the ramifications of corona pandemic is felt all over the world, and effects are very difficult to scale or gauge the effects of corona-19 pandemic. So in the meanwhile, we can take two questions. One question from Dr. Shivaya. He says that his question is, why in the age of computer or digital revolution, why is it taking so much time to for the time to develop the vaccine? Nishant, can you answer this?
Yeah. I think it's a question that should be asked to scientists and not political scientists. But
Yeah.
because I have had some reading on the subject, so I'll just try to explain my understanding about it. So in case of say vaccine development is not something that you can do in a day or two. So you need to get the genetic genome from the virus and then try to build antibodies externally in the labs. That still is an easier job in the age of computer sciences. But what is more important is to be very sure about that the vaccine is going to be A, effective, and B, does not have any negative impact short term or long term on human beings. And that therefore there's a internationally prescribed system of how you test your vaccines, and there are at least 4 stages through which the vaccine goes through. Okay, so after you are satisfied with the tests on animals, etc., so the tests are done on mice, they are also done on monkeys. After you are satisfied with the developments there, then you try it on human beings, and then there are a number of human beings that have to be involved in the process of the trial. So first stage will have lesser number of human beings that you try it on, and then the number gradually increases with every stage of trial. After the third stage of trial, you enter into the final stage where you get into the final larger experimentation with human beings, and then you try to get a certificate for the vaccine. Now, this takes a lot of time. Why it takes a lot of time is because even if you are testing it on human beings, you immunize someone, you cannot see the response in a day or two. You'll have to wait for weeks and months to see that there's the vaccine is actually effective, and B, that they does not have any negative impact. It does not have any side effects. Because you remember, if you would have been following the news, 1 month back, this Oxford University vaccine, one person had some side effects and they had to stop their experimentation then and there. Though it was proven later on that it was not directly due to the vaccine that was being invented, and therefore the trials began again. Even in India, the trials were stopped. The trials are going on in India as well. So they had to stop the trials. So it happens like that. It takes time, and you need to be extra sure, because you remember, if it goes wrong even to a point of 5% wrong, that is going to create a new kind of disaster. Also, there is another complication, and that is about the changing nature of the COVID-19 virus itself. So it was found out in some cases that when the new vaccine that was developed, when it was people were being immunized with that, the virus created a new prototype, which was even a more complex protein. So when you are putting a medicine to something and that virus gets immune from it by creating its own prototype, it becomes even a more deadly affair, because it is going to be even a more deadly virus. So you have to take care of all these different aspects before certifying a particular vaccine to be successful.
Yes. Nishant, I would like to add to the Nishant that there is a ethnic angle to the discovery of vaccine. So the vaccine which is invented in Europe, it cannot be applied to African nations or Asian nations. So there is an ethnic angle to that. That is true. And so we are experimenting with human beings, and it takes time. So it's not like that if any nuclear bomb testing will be done on artificial computer and it will, the effects will be quantified. Right. So we are dealing with human beings, not with robots. We can take one short question. Is it a failure of political administrator or scientific research? Nishant?
I don't think it's good to say that it's a failure of either political administrators or scientific researchers, because remember, this is a situation that no one had ever thought we would be placed at. In January 2020, we ourselves in India would have not thought that something of that this sort is going to happen to us. So everyone was taken by surprise, and when human beings are taken by surprise by something, they react in different ways. And therefore, you see the reaction of a scientific community as well as political administrators of different countries. They reacted in different ways, looking at the complications in their own local structure. For example, India went on for a complete lockdown since the early phase of realization of the problem, and some European countries did not. Japanese, they opened their workplace for a long phase. In fact, if I'm not wrong, they had locked down for a very brief period of time, because scientifically, Japanese have this tendency of wearing masks in normal days also. That prevented, the transfer or spread of virus in the way that India faced. So there are local conditions everywhere which are very different, and local administrators tend to analyze the situation according to their own capacities. Remember, one of the reasons why India announced a sudden lockdown was also because India was in case of health sector, we were not ready enough. We did not have PPE kits by then. We did not have hospital beds ready for fighting COVID-19. But as soon as, within 1 month or 2 months, we became an exporter of PPE kits. So our scientific researchers have invested a lot of hard work also in making India, changing the situation in India in very short time. So you created COVID facilities, you became prepared for that, and then you gradually started calling off the lockdown. So every political administrator and scientific community responds to crisis according to their own calculation, of the situation at the local level. So we cannot really blame anyone. We can blame, the things we can blaming is easier than being at their place and wearing their shoes and thinking for them. So what we should rather do is introspect within ourselves as to how we have responded to this situation of crisis. And if we think that we have responded in an ethical and moral way, then that's fine, we can blame others. But have we as citizens done enough? Did we take care of the migrants the way we should have? Did we take care of the daily wage laborers the way we should have? Did we actually help others, the needy, in the ways we should have? Have we done our part? Only then, if you are convinced that you have done, you can blame others. Scientific community has been so my problem is not with the hard. That's why I said we should respect the scientific community. We should respect the doctors, the hard work they're putting in to fight this thing out. But that does not, completely free them from the ethical baggage. The questions will still be asked, and similar way, questions will be asked to the political managers. Questions will be asked to politicians, and questions will be asked to us as citizens as well. So we should also be ready to face those questions and those criticisms by our future generations, that why something like this was allowed to happen in society. So the responsibility and accountability of a response is not about a particular section of people in society. The society has to respond at large to this such crisis, because without connecting different segments of society, we cannot give a befitting reply to such crisis. And therefore, we all will be asked questions about how did we do? Is it not our failures as citizens that this crisis from a so-called, as I said, I will not comment on whether it was a man-made crisis or it was a natural crisis, but at least we converted it into a social crisis, and that is a fact. We should all accept that fact. I think that is what I can say about it. Thank you.
Okay, Nishant. Thank you very much. May I now request Professor Shukumar M. the organizing secretary of this webinar to present the vote of thanks for the concluding sessions. Over to you, Dr. Shubkumar.
Yeah, thank you, Guru sir. A very good afternoon to one and all. I take this opportunity to propose vote of thanks. First and foremost, I would like to express my deep gratitude to Dr. Nishant Kumar, Assistant Professor, Department of Political Science, University of Delhi, New Delhi. Dear sir, your lecture on the topic vaccine nationalism and the question of ethics in the time of crisis, reflection from Gandhian perspective, has immensely enhanced the importance of this international webinar. Sir, your address was highly scholared and illuminating and touched upon different aspects of vaccine nationalism. We are really enlightened with your knowledge and presence. Once again, thank you, sir. And I also thank Dr. Natalia Pikunova. Actually, madam, as to speak about the Sputnik vaccine. Due to his illness, madam was not able to attend the webinar. In the absence, I would like to thank Dr. Natalia Pikunova, Associate Professor, Moscow State University, Russia. Thirdly, I also thank Dr. Guru Basavarajaswamy Pandita, President, Karnataka Political Science Association, Mysore, Karnataka, who moderated today's international webinar. Thank you, sir. I thank all the participants who joined from across the world for today's international webinar, hoping to see you with us in the future webinars. Thank you all. It gives me immense pleasure to thank our beloved Honorable President, Mr. K.S. Vijayanand, People's Education Trust, Mandya, for granting us an opportunity to organize this international webinar. Thank you once again, sir. I extend my thanks to K.R. Dayananda, Secretary, People's Education Trust, Mandya, for his continuous support. Thank you, sir. I would like to express my heartfelt thanks to our beloved principal, Dr. J. Mahadeva, for his continuous support. Thank you, sir. A special thanks to teaching and non-teaching staff for their unflinching support and coordination. Our heartfelt thanks to all our esteemed colleagues for active participation. Thank you, one and all.
Thank you, Professor Shubkumar, for presenting vote of thanks. So it's a pleasure, and we had two illuminating sessions from distinguished panelists, international scientists, and international scholars of political science. So why we scientists spoke about Professor K. Sangappa, the vaccine, and we political scientists looked at it from a political perspective. Politics and science are interwoven today. So I thank all the panelists, distinguished panelists, attendees. I'd like to thank all the faculties of PS College of Arts and Science, the trust president, the principal, and all those who tuned in from across the world.